Yo friends, welcome to Next Level Consciousness with Linnea Stella. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, because it used to be one of my least favorite topics, and that is consistency. How to stay committed, devoted, dedicated to your dreams. And I don't know if it's because I am a double water sign in astrology. If you're into that, you know what it means. Or if it's because I'm a manifestor in human design, meaning that I have a tendency to want to start things but not necessarily following through. But I have always found it hard to stick to things because I'm very impatient also. I'm very fiery, very passionate, and I just have such a hunger for life. I want to discover everything. I want to do everything at once. And I think it can also be kind of a counter reaction to how we are taught to live in a very linear, a very limited fashion, that you have to do one thing at a time, you need to follow the rules. And once you get to a point when you break out of this, you just want to revolt. You just want to rebel against it and do the opposite. So after my spiritual awakening now over 6 years ago, I just gave myself permission to flow and to be much more free. And my definition of freedom was to not have any structure, because structure felt limiting and freedom felt, well, freeing. Until I realized that the absence of structure actually takes away from your freedom and makes you more stressed. So if you talk about this in energy terms, the commitment, the consistency, responds to your inner masculine energy. So regardless of gender, we all have the inner feminine and masculine energies, like you can call them what you will, but we have the feminine, which is more the energy of flow, the energy of creation. It's a very spiraling, non-linear energy. It's the energy that just wants to do whatever it wants, whenever it wants. And we have the inner masculine energy that is reliable, that is consistent, committed, devoted, that you can trust on, and that actually gives structure and gets things done. And you can see that my inner feminine was very strong because she had been repressed for my entire life. Whereas my inner masculine was a bit flaky. And the interesting thing is that if you are, for example, dating masculines, outer masculines, they will be a reflection of your inner masculine. So when you have a very unreliable, uncommitted inner masculine, chances are that you're also attracting men on the outside who reflect back that energy of being non-committal, of being flaky, emotionally unavailable. But that's just a sidetrack. But I want to say it to all the creative, free spirits out there. I know that you have so many gifts to share with the world, and that you just want to be in that very flowy, feminine energy, if that resonates. Or it can be on the other hand, that you can be very strict and very rigid and you don't allow yourself to express this more feminine and free and the blossoming energy. So whether you are too much in the masculine or too much in the feminine, you are imbalanced. You need a healthy balance of both this energy on the inside. And today we're going to talk more about how to balance out the masculine quality, that of consistency. Because I believe that anything that's worthwhile, that gives this deep soul fulfillment, requires a certain degree of commitment. Just look at a successful, a healthy, supportive, passionate relationship, romantic relationship. You can't just snap your fingers and it's there, and you never have to do any work, and you expect that there is never gonna be any friction, any conflict, any disagreements. It's just gonna be there. That's not really realistic. And the same thing if you have a creative pursuit or a business. It doesn't have to be hard in the sense that we need to hustle and we need to go about it in the old school, wounded masculine way. But you need to be willing to commit and to keep going even when you face fears. And why is that? Because that's the only way to grow. If you constantly do things that only feel easy, it means that you are staying inside of your comfort zone and your soul isn't growing as much as it potentially could in this lifetime. And there is no judgment. I mean, some people aren't here to really grow to their full potential. Maybe they want to have the experience as a human to leave this lifetime with untapped potential and not feeling fulfilled. So that is fine too. But if you're here watching this and resonate with my message, chances are that you feel deep down that you really want to live out all the experiences that are available to you as a human being. You don't want to go to the buffet and just take the potatoes. You want to taste of everything. And in order to do so, you need to foster this sense of commitment. Because I believe that anything that gives satisfaction comes from this sense of commitment. Maybe you know that you probably have invested in something and seen it through to completion and felt that fulfilling sense of having completed something, whether it be a degree that you took maybe when you were in school, or a test that you finally passed that maybe you failed in the beginning, maybe you ran a marathon, or you created a beautiful piece of art and it felt like this big thing and it took a long time and then you finally made it. I believe it's just human nature to feel very satisfied when we have completed something that we needed to put a little extra effort in. So this is just to tell you that your inner masculine energy is actually very sexy. Because many of us feminines, at least watching, we may feel much more drawn to cultivating the inner feminine energy. But to have that safe container, that spine, that integrity that comes from the masculine will allow your creations to flow so much better, and it will also take away a lot of the overwhelm and stress that we can have when we are only in the feminine energy. And once again, this is regardless of gender. So if you resonate with this feeling that maybe you have been a little more in your feminine, also let me know in the comments if you want me to do a similar video but about the feminine energy. What happens if you are actually more in the structure energy and you don't really recognize this message because you feel like, oh, but I am so structured and I am so good at being very ambitious and consistent and following things through even though I don't feel like, but I have a harder time to be in the feminine and to actually let myself just be in the creative flow and feel this joy and this juiciness. Let me know in the comments and I can make a video about that too, because I'm very passionate about reaching this inner union as human beings, because that's really what we are here to do. That is the new way of being a human, a multidimensional human who feels very satisfied and fulfilled and can be independent, but can also engage in relationships from a healthy interdependency and attract a partner not from this trauma bonding space, which happens if you have one of those sides repressed, but actually from a whole, from a complete, from a balanced state. Anyhow, I got out a little here from my masculine and got into my feminine, to the flow, to the channeling. Let's go back to the things that you can do if you feel like you are or have been struggling with consistency. So the first tip I have for you is to connect to your why. Why are you doing this? Why do you have this desire to committing to whatever it is that you're doing? And that you should do it, or that it looks good on paper, or that people around you think it's a good idea. It's not really a good reason, because it will make it very hard for you to stay committed. And you will find yourself waking up one day finding that you have been building someone else's dream and not your own. And I am all for feeling fulfilled in life, and I believe that your desires are safe guidance towards the thing that your soul wants to experience for growth. So really, I want you to find this why, this deep soul level why that only you know. What you can do then is to create a vision board. Where do you want to go with this? If it's a project that you're creating, maybe something in your business, a relationship, a kind of lifestyle that you are manifesting. How do you want to feel? Like, what are make like a mood board. How do you want to feel when this thing has manifested? And then I like to do it digitally. And I have a browser that's only for my vision board, and it's in Pinterest, so I just pinned a couple of images. It doesn't have to be super hard, so you can do that, and then you have like a browser window that's only for that, so that always when you feel that little dip in motivation, you click up that vision board and you get reminded of your bigger why, because that is what will help you go through the dips, the doubts, all the humanness that comes out and says that I can't do this, it's too hard, or that I'm bored, because oftentimes you're not bored, you're scared. Tip number 2 is to rewire your identity and start to see yourself as a committed person. And I actually did that for this year, because when I did my New Year's intentions, I do like a big thing every New Year's Eve when I look through the past year, and I set intentions for the coming year, not just on New Year's Eve, but that's like the bigger one. And the word of the year that came for me like out of the blue was commitment. So this whole year I have really been honing in on this concept of commitment, committing to myself, committing to my dreams, because that's actually a form of self-love when you do that. My next tip, which may be a little easier if you are a manifestor in human design as I am, is to just do it. Start, take action on the thing that you want to create. And if you feel like it's too big and too scary, just cut it in little pieces, like slicing a loaf of bread, and start with the first little bread slice. And when you take action, it's one of the most efficient ways of pushing the walls of your comfort zone. And that's really good news that you're pushing the walls of your comfort zone, because that means that you are growing and that you are getting closer to your dreams, to manifesting your dreams in reality. But often what happens is that we face some kind of challenge. Some kind of challenge that tempts us to fall back into our old way of living, as being non-committed, as giving up, as not following through, as thinking, no, maybe this is not my thing, I'm gonna jump to the other. And that's also really good news, because when you face this challenge, it is the universe showing you, hey, this is the block that has been stopping you from realizing your dreams for probably your whole life. And I really want to put emphasis on this. Now is not the moment to stop. Now is the moment to pause, take a deep breath, maybe rewatch this video if it feels super scary, and then take a look at what is this block. Because that's the only way through. You need to be willing to face your shadows and your fears. You need to be willing to be courageous and brave, to manifest your dreams and anything that's worthwhile in this lifetime. Because the people that you maybe look up to that seem to be just quantum leaping, and they hit goal after goal after goal, and they just seem to be in the flow of life, they are not some kind of superhumans. They are just more willing to look at their shadows. Okay, that's all. Your growth is really proportional to your willingness to face your fears. End of story. And if you want to learn more on this topic, I recently did a 6-part manifestation series where I looked at the whole manifestation process and divided it into 6 parts, and each part has its own blocks that may have prevented you from manifesting and creating your reality in the past. So I encourage you to go back and watch that series, and especially if this thing around action feels scary, watch video number 4 where I talk about inspired action and what to do if you feel scared about taking action in particular. So my third and final tip is what I call the tipping point. So the tipping point is when you come to that place where you have just had enough. You had enough of getting stuck in those old patterns, of not believing in yourself, of not being able to trust yourself, because that is what happens. If you keep intending to do something, you get started, you give up. You get started, you give up. You get started, you give up. That wires in an identity that tells your subconscious that I can't trust myself. Because I promise myself to do something, then I give up. And of course, we don't have to do things that we feel like, oh, this is super unaligned. But if that's a repeating pattern in your life, that may be something that you want to have a look at. Because it's not that you are doing things that are completely out of alignment necessarily. Yeah, others can be out of alignment, that you are not in touch with your deepest desires. But it can also be that you have these fears and you hit some kind of glass ceiling, that every time you face a fear, you just take a step back. While the way to success and growth and abundance is to take a step forward, as I told you. So the tipping point, you can reach it naturally if you are a person, like I'm a person who's so committed to my growth. So even when I have been buying into fear and try to hold back, I reach a point when I get so tired of myself. And I am done. I am done choosing fear over love. I am done choosing excuses instead of success. Because ultimately that is a choice. Even though in actuality it's not always easy to choose the path of growth, you have the option to do so. You choose when you are on that threshold and things feels a little shaky and nervous. Do I want to take a step forward or do I want to take a step back? And of course, if you feel super blocked around this, like I don't want to diminish, if you have been through traumatic stuff in the past, by all means seek help. But know that help is always available. either by things that you can do yourself or that you can work with a therapist, a coach, a psychologist. But you always have the choice of moving forward instead of staying stagnant. And one thing to do if you want to artificially light that fire under your beautiful being and reach the tipping point and not wait until you reach that naturally, which may or may not happen, is to look at how would I feel if in a year from now I am still where I am right now and nothing has changed. How would that feel? And also to see, what if I actually had embodied my next level self and got so much closer to my goals and even reached some of my goals by the end of this year? How would that feel? Because the thing is that if you feel stuck, it is because you subconsciously have wired negative associations around moving forward and more positive associations around staying where you are, around not being committed, around giving up. And you can intentionally rewire because your subconscious is malleable. You can rewire your subconscious mind in 21 days. So what you can do if you notice that you always fall back into your comfort zone, you have a hard time sticking to things even though you are super excited about them, is that you can also make a list of pros and cons. So the pros of moving forward despite fear, what are they? List as many as possible, because if this is a desire from your soul, there will be many. And then list the cons of staying where you are, of giving up on yourself again, and there will also be many. Then read this list out loud for 21 days, either in the morning, just after you wake up, or at night, just before you go to bed. Because that's when the barriers to your subconscious are the lowest and it's easier to reprogram them. And 21 days is the time it takes to form new neural pathways in your brain, which means that you are gonna act differently within 21 days if you do this exercise and you really commit to it. And ideally you can read a list both morning and night. It doesn't take a lot of time, and it's really a commitment to yourself that it's not super scary, because I don't ask you to like go and start a YouTube channel or go and ask someone out or whatever it is that feels big and scary right now. I'm just asking you to read a list morning and night for 21 days. That is going to rewire, and it's going to help your subconscious mind to see the truth, which is that the net effect of moving forward despite fear is positive, and the net effect of staying where you are is negative. And one example I have from my own life of how I have been dabbling into something a little in, a little out, is that over 3 years ago, the mushrooms told me to start a YouTube channel. I know, I'm a little weird, I take advice from spirits. But they told me so clearly, start a YouTube channel. And I refused. I had never thought about that before. And I was like, no. I had so many fears, so many blocks, so many limitations. And I just saw this image of people are gonna laugh at me, they're gonna make fun of me, they're gonna send me hate comments, I'm gonna just get a bunch of troll commenting on my videos. And so I took over a year to even post the first video. I posted a few videos, I gave up. Then I started again the year after, posted a few videos, and I gave up. And then this year I was like, third time's a charm. I am not giving up on myself. Because the truth is that I really, really love to do this. It's such a deep passion. It brings me so much joy and so much fulfillment. All parts really of making YouTube videos. And the funny thing is that yes, I have gotten negative comments, and I don't care. Like in my mind, before I started my channel, it was this huge, scary thing. It was like the end of the world if one person that I don't even know would say something negative about me. And now I'm like, oh, okay, delete, over to next. Like, I literally don't care the way that I thought I would. So that's also something to take into consideration if you feel blocked. The mind is primed to negativity because it wants to keep you safe. So it makes like those tiny, potentially negative thing into big negative thing. And those positive things, it shrinks them because it wants you to stay safe. So that's the funny duality that we have in the game of being a human. We have the survival mind, the ego that wants to keep us small and in survival. And we have this bigger part of ourselves, the soul, the higher self that wants to evolve. And ideally we learn to balance the two, and we learn to use them for what they are good at, because the ego is not only negative, It's very helpful, for example, if you're about to cross a road and there comes a car driving very fast that you didn't consciously notice, and you just instinctively take a step back, then your ego is super good. But it's not as good if you want to follow your dreams, because your dreams are outside of your comfort zone. So by definition, by the ego's definition, they are not safe to follow. But just know that we are moving into a world, a society, where it's easier than ever to monetize your passions. And I'm not an advisor in any way regarding this, but it might even be more safe to follow the things that bring you joy than to follow the old model, the matrix way of living. And I guarantee that it's gonna be more fulfilling for you and lead to more soul growth. If you got any value from this video, hit the subscribe button. I am posting daily videos in November, and I'm gonna keep going after this. If you got any value from this video, hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. I'm posting daily now in November, and I'm gonna keep going after that because I just can't stop. See you in the next one. And anything that's worthwhile, well, because so